The LA Times owner who backed Karen Bass, and by the way, at the 11th hour, wouldn't actually come out and back Kamala Harris for the presidency, just like we saw over at Washington Post, Jeff Bezos saying, no, we're not going to do this anymore. Same thing happened with the owner of the LA Times. And, people were furious. There were resignations at both papers. Well, anyway, he just came out and said, we kind of got it wrong on Karen Bass. You think? This is the mayor of LA, ladies and gentlemen, just to remind you, who took off for Ghana as the winds were coming into LA, because she felt it was more important to be in Ghana on New Year's Eve on the taxpayers' dime to celebrate the inauguration of the new president in Ghana in Africa. She took $17 million away from the budget for the firefighters, but somehow miraculously found $17 million to put towards DEI nonsense. Here's the LA Times owner saying, gee, we got that one wrong, really wrong.
First of all, we'll accept some blame, right? So at the LA Times, we endorse Karen Bass. I think right now in front, that's a mistake, and we admit that. So I thought it was very important early on for me to come out. And I think we were one of the few to say competence matters. We got maybe 20, 23 million views to show how that was really dear to the heart of most people, whether you're right or left. And it's an interesting thing is that maybe we should think about how we elect people on the basis of, did they actually run a job? Did they actually make a payroll? Do they understand what it is? And rather than having professional politicians whose only job is really to run for office. There's nothing, I'm not trying to be disparaging, but I think we're at the stage now of the nation and the world, and there's many things we'll talk about even in healthcare, that you really need people to understand how it affects a man in the street, how it affects the working type of person. And I think President Trump in this election has understood that, and he's become truly a Republican Party, as you said. He's become the Democratic Party in terms of addressing the problems of the man in the street. So competence absolutely matters, and I'm glad that that's been taken up as almost a meme now, that competence matters.
Piece of my mind, I'm laughing. He says, competence matters. What a novel idea. You know what? It's crazy, right? Because competence, for whatever reason, didn't matter at all in politics. And then along comes Donald Trump, and people are like, oh, wow, he has a business background. Oh, wow, he's had to meet payrolls. Oh, wow, he's a builder. He understands interest rates. He understands the dynamic international economy in which we live, in which, by the way, you don't need to always send the military, but maybe you can use some things like tariffs pretty effectively to try and get your point across with all these countries. I mean, wow, imagine that. Competence. About time, right? Listen, we have been veering away from competence for too long. It's one of the reasons I'm so proud of announcing my new partnership with the Herzog Foundation, the Herzog Foundation. Just a wonderful, wonderful group that cares so much about kids' education, because kids are our future, right, of this country. And listen, if your kids or your grandkids are in public schools, there's a good chance they're getting captured by all this crazy, crazy, crazy talk. One of my kids said the other day that they had a history teacher that said to them, you're so lucky because you're growing up in a time where you can pick your gender. And if I were growing up in a time where I could pick my gender, I would have chosen to be a boy. Fortunately, my kids have a sense of humor about it, right? Like, you need to have a sense of humor about it, and you need to understand how wacky this all is. But, for the kids that don't maybe get a chance to talk to their parents enough, or who are just getting this stuff down their throat, it's not good. It's not good. And so Herzog Foundation is a foundation that actually studies all these schools and looks at how Christianity has a positive impact on kids. And so as a result, they are sort of the be-all, end-all authority on Christian schools. And I can't say enough about the goodness of Christian schools. By the way, went to Catholic school first, second, and third grade myself. My father actually wound up suing the bishop on behalf of the nuns that got fired for no reason. in my little state of New Hampshire. It became a big deal, went all the way to the Supreme Court. It was a pro bono case. He loved the nuns because, the nuns were everything to him. Growing up in a big Irish Catholic family, they wouldn't have had food, they wouldn't have clothes if it hadn't been for the nuns. So he defended the nuns. It became a huge story. First time nuns had ever sued a bishop. Oh, the Vatican wasn't happy. It was like on the cover of the New York Times. He was on Good Morning America, the Today Show. I remember this also vividly as a little kid because the upshot was I had to leave my wonderful little Catholic school, which I loved. I loved my Catholic school, and I wound up having to go to public school because, we weren't exactly welcome, shall I say, given that Dad was suing the bishop. He won, by the way. I went to the Supreme Court in the state of New Hampshire. I digress. But I would just say, I think a Christian education is a wonderful education. And what I love about what the Herzog Foundation is doing is they are promoting Christian education, and they are giving you the resources and the tools to better understand these educations. So, they are effectively just the trusted source on American K through 12 education from a Christian standpoint. So if you have a child or a grandchild and you're considering moving them to a Christian school, first of all, I applaud you. Second of all, I encourage you to use the resources that they offer there at herzogfoundation.com. You can go over there and check it out. They'll help you, especially as you make the change. They've got actually a great new podcast called Making the Leap. They've got an online publication called The Lion, where you can get lots of information. It's not easy always. It's not easy on families. It's not easy on the kids, right? Anytime you change schools. But listen, it's a worthwhile thing to do, and I guarantee you're going to get a great education. I still miss my first, second, and third grade, and the Sisters of Mercy, who were my teachers. Anyway, Herzog Foundation, I'm proud of this affiliation. It's really just one of the great things I feel proud to be part of in 2025. So check it out. Check it out. Check it out.